Welcome back to another Reading and Correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and I, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. And if you are looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today we are doing chapter 20 of The Technician's Fight. This is my note to myself that second draft things are going to be shifted around. And then me and Scar had sex, Jeremy told Leah, who nodded to acknowledge the statement. Bafflement was no longer his initial reaction to the acceptance of to the extent he had sex with someone other than Growl. Your heart, she said, as if she knew he popped in his head, mentioned you haven't cooked dinner for the two of you recently. He shrugged, pushing the image down. I've been busy. Considering she was a mentalist, she probably didn't have to say anything for her to know why he'd kept so busy. I can't offer advice on unvoiced statement, Jeremy. You know that. Isn't it just enough to say I don't want to? Only you spoke of how enjoyable it was to make food from scratch. What changed? He locked eyes with her. She damn well knew what had changed. She maintained eye contact without reacting. He admitted defeat with a sigh. No, he admitted he needed to deal with it instead of shoving it down each time it popped up. They, the Earthers, broke into our old apartment while I was cooking. He took a breath and continued. He'd learned she wouldn't speak until he decided he was done. I think I opened his throat on purpose. I was pissed at the whole thing, and I remember this need to teach them a lesson, to show them I wasn't someone they should be messing with. I didn't need to open his throat, to open my hand, to flex it. I could just have punched him. It's not like it would have changed anything. He tried not to see the man stagger back, hands on his neck, blood pouring through his fingers. And cooking now reminds you that you killed? He tried to work out if that was why. I guess? Do you feel it's something we hold against you? He shook his head. It's been made clear you consider just about anything I do to defend myself or a loved one acceptable. Do you hold it against yourself? I killed someone. There was no heat in the words. He didn't feel the need to be arrested for it. He didn't feel anything. You say you were angry. Do you feel you were justified in that anger? He snorted. Does it matter? Doesn't it? Wasn't killing in anger wrong? Worse than killing in cold blood? As a hunter, he was learning to restrain his emotion while in combat, but not shut them down. Bob had told him, when he'd asked about his military training, how part of it had been to compartmentalize his emotions away so he could act without doubts or regrets. Kelsirian didn't see emotions as not belonging on the battlefield, on the line, as they called it. It was maintaining control over them. The training... It was Okay, I need to rephrase that. The training emphasized maintaining control over them. The heat of the moment was an expression often used in movies. Kelsirian even had an equivalent, the roar of the heart. When emotions became so loud, they were a roar that pulled the person along. His training taught him to keep that roar under control. So he'd been wrong to act in anger. But damn it, his home had been invaded. The place he should have felt safe. He should feel safe no longer did. Entering the kitchen made him feel like any moment they'd burst through the door and would take him away again. That he'd have to fight for his freedom, for his love, that he'd have to kill. His chuckle was soft. Okay, it's not a bit that I killed, or not all of it. It doesn't matter if the kitchen's different. It's still where they attacked me, where they stole me from my home. After what happened, it's normal you fear it happening again. To this level? Possibly not. It's why hunters must receive counseling after every hunt. I should have treated it Okay, I should have treated it as such, as in I should have treated it as a hunt, as such, and asked you to have a session. After it happened, but you weren't broadcasting it when we hung out as friends, so I didn't realize there was a problem. That lack falls on me. The fact I didn't act on it is on me. The kill is done. It's done. Assigning blame won't help you. Hopefully, I can help you learn from this, and if you find yourself in a similar situation again, we will both know better than to simply take for granted it will resolve naturally. He nodded. How do I deal with this? You are an engineer at heart, Jeremy. You see problems and reason your way to a solution. What is the problem? I can't set foot in the kitchen, because it reminded him of what happened. Terrified him it could happen again, that he'd have to kill. That this time he wouldn't be rescued and he'd end up in Omar's hand, in that machine, that he'd be programmed to hate his love. One step at a time, Jeremy. Let's study the problem. How likely is it Earthers will be able to board the ship a second time? He breathed to still his thinking. What were the parameters that affected those odds? The variable. Where did they fall? He answered, and she asked another question, forcing him to think. He stepped to the island, placing trembling hands on it. The composite surface was cool. The odds of anyone he didn't invite in were Oh, wow. Man, how the hell did I miss that many words in there? The odds of anyone he didn't invite in were The odds of anyone he didn't invite coming in were infinitesimally small. The lock on the door was nothing special, but privacy was something Kelsirians took seriously. Intruders would have to burn the control panel off like they did in the hold, or trick him into opening the door like they had before. Only Earthers would try to trick him. They wouldn't be able to approach without tricking the scanners, and the crew was aware of how they did it now. Had procedures in place preventing that from happening again. They wouldn't be able to move through the ship undetected, even if they somehow boarded it. And he wore his collar at all times now, so Gralgiran would know something was wrong. They did more than allow communication. They monitored his heart rate, his breathing, and other functions that reached his neck. Leia was surprisingly knowledgeable about what a hunter's collar did. He hurried back, the knowledge he was safe, not keeping the fear he wasn't in check. His back touched his heart's chest, and arms wrapped around him, calming his trembling. Sorry, he mumbled. Shush, Gralgiran whispered. This will take time. The psychologist warned you. The progress will be incremental, as you convince yourself the fear is irrational. I know it is, he said, annoyed at himself that it wasn't enough. But that isn't the same as convincing yourself of it. Gralgiran nuzzled his neck. Do you want me to distract you from the feeling? Jeremy closed his eyes. Please, he moaned at the nibbling on the hand that stroked him. Okay, so I've been reading on Kelsirian and the relationship, and all I'm getting from that is a headache. Next message, you have to explain how you can be in a relationship with an entire ship, and what about you wanting to go off on your own again? That array you want to get back to with an actual ship instead of the one about to blow up. Are you giving up on collecting all those movies broadcasted from ancient Earth? You aren't to approach the cell, the guard instructed him. You are not to give the prisoner anything. If you break the rules, you will be subject to ending up in the one next to the male. Jeremy wanted to comment on how that was severe, but Gral had told him how the Earthers had escaped, and this one was wilder than they would ever be. The guard unlocked the door to the section, and Jeremy entered. Finally! Zeniel exclaimed from his cell. Please tell me you're here to have some fun. I am a friend of yours after all. You wouldn't believe how boring this place has become. No one will even look at me. He posed, presenting his naked body. What is wrong with all of them? Jeremy sat in the seat placed before it. They all had one. Prisoners in this section weren't prohibited visitors. What did you do to end up in here this time? Nothing. Jeremy rolled his eyes. Come on, Zenial. I know you better than that. He dropped on the bench, legs spread, but at least as far as Jeremy was concerned, not hard or playing with himself. There was an inspection of the hold, and they found the hops I'd bought. The stuff that's extremely poisonous to Kelsirian? He shrugged. There's money to be made in anything forbidden. At least it wasn't as a result of annoying Growl this time. I think you should be happy that's all that's happened. How long are you in here for? 3 weeks. I'm not going to survive it. He smiled. You do have access to someone who could lessen my stay. Be a friend and convince him to be lenient. Jeremy leaned forward. What's in it for me? Zenial stared. Are you negotiating with me? What's that thing you like to say? If I'm not going to get anything out of it, what's the point of doing it? You realize I expect you to convince him by fucking him, right? You get a lot out of that. I get that without you being involved. So you want me to speak with the captain in your favor? I'm going to need something else. Something better that only you can get me. His friend looked at him suspiciously. And you aren't referring to me getting you to orgasm. Unlike you, sex isn't a tool for me. So that's going to happen without favors attached to it. Okay, then. What do you want from me? Information. He thought about it for a while. Had planned on bringing it up with his friend the next time they hung out and figured sex would have been the price. And he was willing to pay it. But Zenial had put himself in this situation. He was the one paying for Jeremy's help. So much for his namesake looking after him. Information on what? The Terhonians shepherding the Earthers into the Federation. Nothing good would come of that, and even if it would probably finalize after he was dead, he wanted to be prepared. That's not something I can get easily, Jeremy. Tell me you will work on it, and I'll talk to Growl about having you released early. You might not like what I find. I know I'm not going to like what you find, Zenial, but I need the information anyway. His friend nodded. I will. May my namesake abandon me if I give up the scent before it's exhausted. Jeremy stood. Then I need to get to work. He was mildly annoyed. His heart had gone into work off shift. Not that it made reaching him harder. He entered the bridge to looks. Is he alone? He asked and received a nod. No need to tell him I'm here. I'll do that myself. He stepped to the door and tapped the intercom button. Captain, it's Technician Jeremy Bradshaw. I need to speak with you. He felt the looks and managed not to smile. He wondered what stories were going to spread with him announcing himself that way to his heart. The door opened and he entered. It closed and he started undressing. Here's what's going to happen, he said, dropping his jacket and unbuttoning his shirt. I'm going to fuck you until you can't even think. Then you are going to arrange for the quartermaster to go back to work tomorrow. Jer, what do you think you're doing? The shirt fell to the floor and he kicked off his shoes. I'm returning the favor. I'm working. The tone was more amused than annoyed. Was more amusement than annoyance, but his heart clearly hadn't anticipated this. Oh no. You used and abused me the last time I was here. He stepped out of his pants. I'm going to take advantage of you this time. So clear those files, and you might want to make sure nothing's recording in this room if you don't want anyone else to learn how high I can make you scream. Jimmy made it around the desk before Growl got over the surprise. He considered telling him it was now too late to remove the files, but they were probably important, so he let him and then pulled him out of the seat and onto the desk. Zenial had been right about this. He was going to get a lot out of this. I'll take it from here, Jimmy told the guard after she deactivated the force field, preventing Zenial from leaving the cell. He wore his hunter uniform and stood as straight as he'd seen the others manage. Kelsirian had this ability to remain standing for hours on end. If he didn't he didn't know if he could match. Here's the deal, he told his now dressed friend. You are being released into my custody. That's the best I was able to negotiate with the captain, and trust me, I negotiated hard. That means that anything you do for the next 3 weeks will reflect on me. Any crime you commit, I will also pay for. That'll be good. Jimmy rolled his eyes. You don't even know the meaning of the word. Come on, let's get you out. Let's get you out of here. Let's get out of here. Zenial tried to make eye contact with the guard, but they never responded. I didn't know they could be scared into being immune to my offers. You know what happened to your friend that was a guard? Yeah, but she had nothing to do with them boarding the ship. Shrugging and acting like he didn't care was easy. That's not the problem. Grell had told them the investigation had concluded with no evidence of help from within the ship, so she was in the clear on that. She'd be a civilian for the rest of her life, but she'd avoided the incarceration center. When Zenial tried to head his own way, Jimmy grabbed his arm. No, you don't. I know you, Zenial. You are going to need more incentive not to cause trouble. He'd mapped out the route to his friend's quarters and had been pleased he didn't need to detour for what he had in mind. I promise, Jeremy, we'll behave. Except that doesn't come with a qualifier of how you'll behave, does it? It's like you don't trust me. I know you, Halan. That should be capitalized. Only those who don't trust you. Only those who don't, there's going to be a comma here, trust you not to cause trouble. Yeniel's sigh was comically put upon. The way to his quarter took them through an alley, and Jeremy glanced at the unoccupied couch and almost considered it before opening the door to the private room he'd reserved and pulled Zenial in with him. Here's what's going to happen, Zenial, he said, pushing the mail against the closed door and locking it. You know what? I don't need with a hand. Oh, well, yeah, okay. Locking it with a hand while running the other through the chest fur. For the next 3 weeks, for every day you aren't causing trouble, we are going to have sex. He rubbed his cheek against his friend's muzzle and nuzzled his neck. I'll go to the hold after my shift and we will have a full hour of sex. An hour? You're serious? Jimmy put his other hand in his friend's pants and squeezed extremely. So, what will it be, Zen? Sex with me every day for 3 weeks? Or you risking landing both of us in individual cells? What about after? His friend moaned. Jeremy licked the air pavilion. How about we negotiate that after the 3 weeks are over? Okay, yes. Fuck, yes. Then your egg is going to be so fucking jealous. Jeremy grinned. Stop! The order came and Jeremy and his opponent froze in place. Under Treasurer Mirtiosi Harkinal was in his pack, and Thuric had him train with each of them. What are you doing wrong, Hunter? Treasurer Mirtiosi Harkinal. Jeremy looked at her for yeah, that's good. Jeremy looked at her form, the fact she was panting slightly, hand open, but claws not extended. This was training, after all. He wasn't an expert, but he couldn't see what she was doing. He couldn't see she was doing anything wrong in how she'd been fighting him. I haven't sought to disengage from the fight, she replied after considering. Good, Hunter Jeremy Bradshaw. What are you doing wrong? Was he? Was he? They'd fought as instructed. He'd taken the offensive. When she did, he'd step back and still was, even though she'd begun panting a few seconds earlier. I didn't retake the offensive. Take advantage of my higher stamina to overpower her before others might come to her rescue. A hunter ended a fight as quickly as possible was the mantra. One of many, but this one had multiple meanings. Some applied to him even with his higher stamina. Fights that lasted gave enemy reinforcement time to join in. to join in to make his victory less certain and even take it away. Good. Hunter Netraloa Gorama Sel Arali on the mat facing Hunter Jeremy Bradshaw. Jeremy straightened while another of his pack mate took position before him. Fight, Thurrock ordered, and the male was on the attack. Jeremy stepped behind his friend in the shower with a release of his breath and hope this wouldn't end up causing problem. You're getting good at guiding our training. He dug his finger into Thurrock's back fur and pressed. He knew nothing of massages, but just having the tense muscle pressed and worked felt good. His friend moaned. I'd better. It feels like I've had to watch every battle from now back to when the gods made the world, and write reports about each of them. He added soap, and his fingers slid up. I missed that I wasn't taking advantage of their exhaustion twice. You're still learning to evaluate us as combatant. Everyone you've trained with before was just that, a training partner. Partners. Okay. It was now or never. If he wasn't risking never, not anymore. Thurrock. He couldn't do the short name. He could with his other friends, but he couldn't shake the feeling that here it would have more meaning in one direction. I don't know what you're looking to get out of this, but there's something I need to make clear. I'm not in love with you. His friend turned. I know. I'm not asking you to be. How can you be in love with me? Better ask to God how I could not fall in love with a strong, kind warrior who got up every time he was forced down. Someone willing to look beyond his belief, to question them and accept that he loved someone everyone he knew told him he couldn't love. Someone strong enough to go before the people claiming to be his and deny them. I'm sorry that I cost you the connection to your father, but it was so brave, Jeremy. Jer, call me Jer. Thurrock smiled at him. Then call me Thur, please. He nodded, unsure he could get himself to say the short name. Does Nila Kassar know? She's the one who told me I was in love with you. Is she a mentalist? No, but she knows how I look at her better than I do. She told me I look at you that same way when I haven't seen you for a while. Is this going to get in the way of you being my beta? Why would it? It's an Earther thing, I guess. They have trouble with relationship where power dynamics are uneven. They don't feel a beta would seek to protect his hunter just as much if he loved him? No, they take advantage. They keep forgetting how different Kelsirian saw their responsibility to those under them. No, they're just different. He leaned and rubbed his cheek against the muzzle. Give us some privacy, Thur. I'm sorry, Jeremy said as they exited the alley's viewing room, but you just can't convince me that 15 minutes was enough to show the depth of their love. They met, they looked into each other's eyes, and then they were taking on the gods together, and they weren't hearts. It's how they looked at each other, Jer. Grell replied with a chuckle. You've seen Earther's romance. You can't tell me you didn't get just how much the couple loved each other in those less than this. Less? No. But why spend 40 minutes setting it up when we're never going to agree on that, are we? Grell nuzzled him. That doesn't mean we have to stop trying. He registered the couch, pushed his heart in it, and climbed over him before what he'd done registered. Then found he didn't care. He ran his hand through the fur, pushing the vest aside. I think I know how I can convince you that slow is better. His heart smiled. I'm willing to listen to your arguments. Jimmy reached down between them. I prefer actions to word for this. And this concludes chapter 20 of The Technician's Fight. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter will be up, subscribe, hit the bell. If you want to read this story, it is up on Ream Story. If you want to listen to this live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. Links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.